Hey, this is Matt once again. Welcome back to another Eddie Murphy movie review. And this time, I would say this is a bit of an underrated film. I've always liked this film. And watch it again, especially in today's age. The Distinguished Gentleman. I'm not only in a whole political thing. I don't do that. I don't care to do that. I'll just say this. This is a movie I think more people should watch nowadays. Still a very fun, entertaining film, and it's funny, like Trading Places, which I know a lot of people love. I have a very mixed opinion on that. I like this film a lot more than Trading Places. I got more laughs out of this. And I mentioned that movie because that's another thing where, like the stock market, I have no interest. Like I have no interest in politics. But this I thought worked around that area better. And it made me understand it better than the stock market and Trading Places. And Eddie, because he's the star, has more to do. And pretty much him and a group of people are con artists. You have this beginning of the film where he's this waiter character, and they talk to this guy, played by Noble Willingham, who had called this sex hotline, but it was one of Eddie Murphy's buddies. And Eddie Murphy pretends to be this officer and saying, well, we're going to get you on trial, and we'll get these guys. And Noble Williams, like, no, no, some bitch, as he says a lot, that character, some bitch. He doesn't want anything. It's like, well, come on, you can't pay me off. You can't pay these people. But no, I'll pay them off. It's fine. Just please do this for me. Please keep it quiet. I don't want my wife, I don't want anyone to know that I called a sex hotline. And Eddie S. Officer going, I don't know about this. But then again, they're conning him, and he finds out later. It's like, some bitch. That's a good way of establishing Eddie Murphy's character along with his other folks, his team of con artists. And the actual story of the film is you have James Garner. He's in a small role. He is a congressman for Florida. And I believe it's Florida, and he dies. He's having sex with his intern, adulterous affair. He just had heart surgery. He has a heart attack during sex. And Eddie Murphy hears from people about how name recognition goes a long way. That's what I'm talking about, how it can work today, this film. And Eddie Murphy gets into Congress with his team of con artists based only on name recognition. That, people don't pay attention, and well, if the name sounds familiar, because Eddie Murphy's character, his name is Thomas Jefferson Johnson, while James Garner's character was Jeff Johnson. And the whole thing is the name you know. So without doing any appearance on TV, without showing his face, by reusing James Garner's stuff in the past, he wins a seat in the Congress just from his name. And sad to say, with how things are nowadays, this is not that outlandish of an idea. It really isn't. Uh, and I thought Eddie Murphy was on his game here. Some people said that he was tired or he gave a subpar performance. I definitely disagree with that. Either when he's making fun of his friend for saying Las Vegas because the guy says Las Vegas, and so Eddie goes, no, no, not Las Vegas. He did a lot better than I could. Or how his staff didn't find a hotel, and he turns, hey, I will kick you guys' ass. And he quiets himself because he doesn't want to appear in one way or fashion with the Congress people. And he has some cool supporting actors. I forget the guy's name, but he was on the TV show Murphy Brown. I think it's Grant Shaud. I believe that's him. I remember a lot from the Murphy Brown TV show. You also have Joe Don Baker, Kevin McCarthy, Lane Smith, who I remember from The Son-in-Law with Pauly Shore. He was also on the TV show Lois and Clark, The Adventures of Superman, but I remember more as the dad and son-in-law. He's here, sort of a main villain. Again, the people working with him are people like Kevin McCarthy and Joe Don Baker. Charles S. Dutton is in the film. So definitely a very capable cast of actors. Della Reese teams up with Eddie. She was in Harlem Nights, and she has a few scenes. In one where she's working the elevator and talks about how the previous Jeff Johnson grabbed her ass. And everyone's like, no, no, I won't grab your ass. And Della Reese is offended, like, you said that awful fast. What's wrong with my ass? Like, the way she said that was pretty damn funny. And he had some humor that they wouldn't do nowadays, but I kind of appreciate it. And I always figured this is an R-rated film, which is nice to see. Like when Lane Smith is taking Eddie to this room at night, and Eddie's line is like, "You ain't about to start some homo shit, are you?" Lane Smith's like, "What? No." So okay, I didn't want to have to whip some ass. And then pretty much him and his team running all these cons to get as much money as possible from these people. So like pretending to be part of the NAACP, the Chairman's Committee for African Americans, and Eddie Murphy's like, let me, because Lane Smith's character is in this group called Power Industry, and they want the more money, and you have to be a member of this. And people say, well, it's going to take years for this. And everybody's like, years, huh? So he pretends to be part of the NAACP along with his other friends. Well, okay, how many African Americans are in there? How many Asians are in there? And plays on that politics to get him a seat on the House. And again, the reason they're doing this is to get contributions, aka a shitload of money from various places. And you know what? And in some circles, this could be considered a documentary. And I agree with Good Morning America. This is the Eddie Murphy we love. He does a great job in this. It's the Eddie Murphy that you want to see. And there's a lot of fun moments. There's a moment where they're going with these guys because they're hunters, but they're hunting with semi-automatic weapons. And so they're in this swamp area. And first up, Eddie Murphy's like, nothing like a warm Uzi. And then they're shooting at these ducks and not hitting a single one. And all of a sudden one falls. And then Eddie says, must have been a heart attack. I think that's a joke that's in the trailer as well. So you can just watch the trailer and find that one. But it's sad that Eddie Murphy went on to rely on multiple characters with tons of fucking gunk and makeup on his face, or special effects, CGI, or fucking fat and fart jokes like Norbit, Night Professor to the Clumps, or just dead weight, limp-wristed, awful family films like Imagine That, and Meet Dave, and fucking 1,000 Words, which that's sucks 1,000 fucking dicks. Now, there is a love story aspect they put into this, and I don't think you needed it. That's one of my only qualms with the film, is because she's a little bit of an activist, tries to get Eddie Murphy to know about this real situation, which brings a certain drama to the piece. Doesn't overshadow the comedy, thankfully, but about how there's these cancer clusters and kids with no hair, and she had surgery, and how these playgrounds are next to power lines. And that's when Eddie Murphy sort of changes his guard and go, okay, it's not just about the money. There's stuff a little bit more important. But it doesn't overshadow the comedy. You still have Eddie Murphy and his buddies being funny. Like Eddie Murphy trying to be Noble Willingham's, like, saying the some bitch line. And still doing their cons, which is satisfying when they get over they won over the bad guys, the politicians. But again, this love interest with this lady, I believe she was the daughter of Charles S. Dudd's character, who's a preacher. You didn't need the love story aspect. You could have had Eddie Murphy change his mind on his own, meaning that he went out to look at these cancer clusters. He went out and like just the love. The actress didn't do a bad job. I think it was Victoria Rowell. She didn't do like she wasn't bad. She wasn't an awful actress. It's just those were the least interesting scenes, the lovey-dovey stuff. Again, for this kind of film, I don't think you needed that. That's just me. But they decided to bid con Chief McBride, who I remember him as Will Smith's boss in I, Robot. He has a role in this. He's also one of Eddie Murphy's buddies and fellow con artists. And they fuck over the politicians, and it's very satisfying. Because Lane Smith in the scene tries to get Eddie, and Eddie Murphy is like, like he's going to smack him, and he's smiling for the camera, like, how am I doing, dick? Huh? Am I smiling enough for you? And he's about ready to be kicked out. But he's, oh, I'm on my next move. And the girlfriend's like, what? I'm going to run for president. And he looks right at the camera. And you know what? If they had done a sequel and it's him running for president, I would have seen it. I would have been interested. Because I think that can work. Maybe it'd be a little bit like Dave, which I think is a pretty decent film with Kevin Kline. But mixed in with the Eddie Murphy type of comedy. But yeah, I liked the story. I liked, even though I'm not really into politics at all, I thought it did a good job with having an outsized perspective and not being so dogged down by politics that becomes boring and confusing. It's just Eddie Murphy reacting a good chunk like anybody would from an outsider perspective, especially for one who just had to make money. At first loving it, then realizing these guys are a little bit too much even for me. Again, the cast is capable. You got veterans like Kevin McCarthy, like Joel Don Baker, and these other people. It has a bit of a message to it, but not an overbearing message. And like I said, with the way things are nowadays with politics, this is a film that I think more people should give a watch. Uh, I like the score by Randy Edelman. This is a guy who worked with Ivan Reitman on Twins and Kindergarten Cop. He worked on Daylight and Dragging the Bruce Lee Story, which are great scores. Ghostbusters 2, which is an underrated score. And this one, I like the whistle type theme, which I can't whistle much for shit, so I'll try to hum it. You know what? I can't even do that shit right. I thought the theme was a bit catchy. I would say that's my favorite piece of music in the film. And a good job by Jonathan Lynn. Jonathan Lynn, he did My Cousin Vinny. He did Greedy, which I thought was a pretty underrated film with Michael J. Fox. He also did Clue, which I reviewed on here. Clue's a fun one. So, pretty capable director. And it's sad that this film bombed and bombed badly. This film didn't do well at all, and I don't understand it at all. I don't get it. I'll never understand it. I mean, if I look up, it gets a 5.9. I would give it higher than that. I think it's higher than a 5.9. Again, I like this more than Trading Places. Sorry, but I do. I'm not sorry. It's my opinion. Later, director Jonathan Lynn said it was the unlikely combination of Eddie Murphy and politics that drew me into it. The script was by a Washington insider, Marty Kaplan, who had been Vice President Mondale's speechwriter. I loved working with Eddie, whom I had admired since 48 Hours. He was a superbly inventive comedy actor and a delight to work with. But yeah, I don't know why it cost so much. It says it cost $50 million. This movie doesn't look like a $50 million movie. I don't know why it cost that much. I have no idea why. There must have been some payola somewhere. There should have been like 30, and that's pushing it. But it made 47 million in the U.S. It was a box office bomb. Critics took a shit on it. Slow pacing. I didn't think the film was that slow. Owen Gleiberman of Entertainment Weekly, a sterile, joyless comedy photographed in ugly, made-for-video close-ups and featuring a farce plot so laborious it suggests John Landis on a bad day. I'm sorry, this film was better than many of John Landis' films. It's better than Beverly Hills Cop 3. It's better than fucking Trading Places. I say it repeatedly. It's better than fucking The Stupids or Blues Brothers 2000. I dare fucking tell you that. I like this more than Three Amigos. I don't mind Spies Like Us, but I probably like this more than Spies Like Us. But I don't mind that film. But I'm more of an Eddie Murphy fan than a Dan Aykroyd fan. Maybe that's why. I don't mind Dan Aykroyd, but it's not a favorite. But yeah, I'll say it again. This is a bit of an underrated flick. It's funny, in 2001, the Political Film Society gave the film a special award. In 2000, wow. Go figure. But yeah. Doesn't I don't even think this film's on fucking Blu-ray either. So many fucking Eddie Murphy films are not on Blu-ray. Beverly Hills Cop 2 is not on Blu-ray in the US. Golden Child's not on Blu-ray. Another 48 Hours is not on Blu-ray. I don't think this film's on fucking Blu-ray. And this isn't even Paramount. This is Hollywood Pictures. So this is a different company. I don't know who owns Hollywood Pictures stuff now. If this has a Blu-ray, I don't know anything about it. Maybe it does. But thanks for watching. Take care, and we'll see you on the next video. Bye-bye.